Hello everybody and welcome back to the Deep with me, GuildWarsBuddy and MagicalMike. We're currently talking about the outcasts and how Kanaxai actually corrupts them and drives these people insane. So enjoy! How do you think he does that? I mean, obviously we don't become corrupted. Do you think it's a bit like, with the affliction, he kills them and then that corrupts them somehow? Or he uses some special magic on them, or what?
I think, as I was slightly suggesting, it has to do with the psychology of this area, this claustrophobic area where you have constantly this aspect happening that's supposed to drive you insane. Now, it doesn't drive us insane, but it does deplete our energy, or slow us down or knock us down constantly, etc., etc. Like all the 13 different aspects, and that drives them insane. I don't think. It's like the Inflicted, where they are essentially killed and then turned into monsters.
Mm.
And I don't get the impression that I guess the outcasts are where they failed. Would be another theory. Is the highest concentration of outcasts are where they ended up, succumbing to Kanaxai himself,
and then they just end up staying there.
Yeah, and the last group of outcasts that we see actually in the Deep is just outside the final room.
Yeah, so perhaps these were big, not just Reavers, but perhaps these were people actually going down there to try and confront him, and failing at it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there must come a point where certain people are going insane. They must decide to themselves that they need to stop it.
A lot of the Luxon culture is, about fighting, about adventure, about always moving around. They're a bit like the Norn in that regard. Not too much like the Norn, but they are a little bit like that. If there's a challenge, they're going to go for it. So I can very much imagine that the Luxons would want to come through here like this and try and take out Kanaxai. So basically, we're coming up now, and on the right hand side is a huge section of the mines that the Luxons had dug out, but we never get to go to that section. And actually across the room from there we will see a door in a minute. I'm pretty sure I'm going to look at it in a minute.
The next thing we're really going to see is the Leviathan trapped in quote-unquote jade, but it's no longer jade.
Right, yeah. So here, actually, yeah, we can see it here. So this is probably one of the more interesting things for me. This is kind of a bit of a highlight of the whole of the Deep. You can see this huge block of jade. Before, you guys might remember, if you've actually seen the rest of my faction series, we actually found a small sized block, and there was a big like jellyfish inside it. And now we kind of see that on a much bigger scale. There is this giant old, it's basically a sea serpent, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a gigantic sea serpent. He has no attacks except for his melee. And here's the first signs we see of the Oni coming out. This is the first, and they pop into existence right in front of you at the bottom of the stairs, and you have to fight them off. And here we have reborn Ikenjis that never die. That once they die, they just come right back. So here, yeah, the Leviathan is trapped in quote-unquote jade, but as we approach it, it turns out not to be jade.
Yeah, it actually completely breaks out, which is pretty awesome. And actually, it's quite a nice thing to mention about the jade here, is you can see, and we'll look at them a little bit in a minute, these giant pits. You can't actually see the bottom of them, can you?
No, and they're full of water.
There we go.
That's great when he bursts out of there.
So, most teams here, they actually run past this guy, but we actually, because we love you guys, we took the time to kill it.
And what's weird about this one is it's not like the worms, right? This one doesn't have ranged attack. He can't move. The rest of his body's trapped within the jade.
Yeah, so he can't really move. And so I just stand back for a minute and.
Actually, he does have fireballs. He's shooting fireballs from a distance.
Yeah, he can spit the fireballs, but that's all he can do. And I guess you just don't see the fireballs when you're close to him. As you can see here, guys, he's got a lot of health, but he is a bit of a pushover, sadly. So yeah, the other thing you can see around the jade here is you can see there's a pool of water at my feet, but you can also see there's a lot of water dripping around. And as we went through, before, just the main storyline, you could see, especially in the Echo Valley Forest, there were a lot of signs that the petrification effects of Shiro's death were actually wearing off, weren't they? And this is just more examples of that. We're quite deep under the jade here. As I said before, we're just going to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper. And even this deep down, you can actually see that the jade seems to be turning back into water, and it's filling up these pools we can see here.
Yeah, and in Urgo's in the next video, or the next section that we're going to probably be showing, there's wherever the twisted bark is, there's this return to life. There's actually some grass growing. So here you see the bottom of the pool, and you see that it's a pool of water.
Yeah, well, we don't actually see the bottom, do we? And, you know, one thing we were talking about when we were going through this is actually that there's quite a few areas here where it looks like you can go even deeper than where this mission actually takes you. And perhaps, you know, we have no real information on where Kanaxai came from. And in theory, you know, maybe you could suggest that he came from even lower down.
Under the sea, I don't want to start singing that, but anyways, it's going to get me stuck in my head. But he does come from underneath the sea, and as the lore goes, that he was trapped by the wind that turned the sea into jade. And when we get to his final, I guess, home underneath in this deep dungeon, it isn't jade at all, right? It's going to be in earth.
Yeah, so the important thing really of the story behind him goes, the important part to think about is the fact that he wasn't actually corrupted by the Jade Wind, he was just trapped in the cave by it. All the time, a lot of the enemies we're finding as we're going through factions, we keep hearing, oh yeah, they don't like us because they were corrupted by the Jade Wind. Kanaxai's different, he was a demon, he's a demon, he came from the mists, as all demons do. But a long time ago, we have no idea how long he's been here, but he was trapped down here by the Jade Wind. So who knows where he came from, or what he was doing from before there, you know?
And as before we were recording this video, we were talking and we were trying to find out if there's any history in the Maojing Hills that suggests that prior to 200 years ago in the Jade Wind, what could have brought about, was there any outcasts or anything being formed at that time, and we have no information. So it's one of those unfleshed out parts of the story that it's important enough to be in your Hall of Monuments, but it's not important enough to really have a detailed story about, even though it is an elite mission.
Yeah, and
so
we
here
mentioned
you can see the door.
Yeah, well, that's the door off in the background. It's really mysterious, actually. The texture on the door is this round door, and the texture on it is unlike anything I believe either of us have ever seen in the game. Actually, it could be completely unique, and if it is unique, you have to wonder why ArenaNet went into the effort of making such a unique, such an awesome looking door that we can never go to. You can see it's flanked on either side by these kind of smoking braziers, and you just can never get to it. It's a tease, really, isn't it? It's so annoying.
And we also took the time to try to figure out where on the world map, if anywhere, there was a similar door. Because if we came in through Cavalon, as we clearly do, when you come in, you can actually see the area you spawn into. That you're coming from Cavalon. I have no idea what town that could possibly be, and if it's out in the archipelago or somewhere like it, there's no door that actually leads out of here on the map that we found.
So yeah, like earlier we were mentioning the Maojang Hills, and you guys will see as we go a bit further on, Kanaxai was trapped under here, and that's because he was in a cave. And when you actually look at the minimap, hopefully we'll see it soon enough. When you look at the minimap, it looks like at one point you're no longer under the Jade Sea, are you? It looks like when you reach this land, you're actually going underneath the Maojang Hills, which is why we were looking for information for any kind of clues up there.
Yeah, and now here's the aspect of Scorpion. I don't think he's going to talk until we're deeper in. But
I've completely forgotten that they're talking to us. They all say the same kind of stuff though, don't they? Fear not the darkness, it is already within you. That kind of thing.
Was that the one before this? The aspect of Scorpion's the next one. So what's the one? What was the one before that?
Well, the list on Wiki's it's all completely out of order. I just read out the aspect of pain. Scorpions does talk to us. He says, "You mortals may be here to defeat me, but acknowledging my presence only makes the nightmare grow stronger."
So here we have the Oni and the Outcasts
working together,
and they're patrolling the same area.
So yeah, I mean, we always hear about the Oni in the legends and stuff in the main game. We're always hearing about them being complete demons that you could never actually talk to, they would never ally with you, you know, all they want to do is kill you and then disappear again. And yet here you can see that they're actually working alongside the outcasts.
Yeah, they're working with the semi-corrupted humans, I guess, because the outcasts don't look corrupted, right? It's not like the afflicted, which you can clearly see that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah, it's not a physical change.
It's not a physical change. It's simply a mental change that they undergo. But the Oni, of course, look like demons.
Yeah, and we were talking about you know the distinction between these two people. If we assume, well, we know that all demons in Guild Wars, all demons are things that came from the mists. So we know at some point Kanaxai came from the mists, and it would seem that these Oni are other demons that he's brought with him from the mist, while the outcasts are just humans that he's corrupted. It's not like, for a while I had the impression that an outcast, a person would become an outcast and go insane, and then eventually they would become an Oni. That was my initial impression, but I think it's actually something completely different to that. Once you're an outcast, you never actually become an Oni. The Oni are just demons from the mist that Kanaxai has brought forth to do his bidding.
Especially since the assumption is that the outcasts have been down here for a good, easily 150 years, right? But they're Lux, and so I'm guessing that they must renew their numbers on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, either that or they've got some way of, you know, now that they're outcasts, they don't need food or whatever, you know, something akin to zombies.
Because I can't imagine that there's much food down here in the Jade.
yeah, exactly.
Unless they're eating the reborn Ukenjis.
Yeah, they're just coming back to life every time.
Oh, they could be eating Fluffy, you know, the flesh golems.
There's actually a quest, I can't remember where it is, I think it's in Prophecies, or it could be Nightfall actually, where they talk about a minion master who's trying to sell meat from her bone minions, which is quite nasty, but...
That's hilarious. So here there's not much to say about this area except for the larger Leviathan trapped in Jade and the Ukenji trapped in Jade.
Yeah, he's kind of precariously positioned there, as if, you know, you're going to run forward and this one's going to burst out as well, and he's going to, you know, completely decimate your team. But this guy never actually breaks out the Jade. You can actually look. I think I should look up in a bit. He's much bigger than the one we saw before, but we never sadly get to fight him.